What's up, guys? I'm back with another movie review. Today I'm here to talk about Iron Man. As frequent viewers of this channel know, I'm not the biggest fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, even though I do love the comic books and the characters. I just haven't been a really big fan of most of the Marvel movies that have, used those characters. But I do think Iron Man is one of the better entries. I think it's a really fun movie. The story is pretty, simple for an origin story. You got Tony Stark, played by Robert Downey Jr. He's got tons of money. His corporate conglomeration is making all these crazy weapons and selling them to the highest bidder. Just money coming in hand over fist. He invents this crazy new weapon, ends up getting kidnapped, and is forced to rebuild the weapon for a terrorist syndicate. And of course, he's not just going to roll over and allow that to happen. And the movie follows what he does once he's captured, and then what happens after that. So, like I said, I think this is a fun movie. I think it actually feels like a comic book movie, which is something that the Marvel movies really struggle to do. At least to me, most of them feel like they're just very generic action movies that happen to have some Marvel characters in them. Like, it was just kind of a regular action movie that they just shoved, Thor or Captain America into. But this feels like a comic book story. I think even though it's an origin story, which means you're kind of limited on the scope of the narrative, I think they cover it really well. They give the story enough time to breathe. They get the exposition across. I know some people don't like how much of the movie takes place in the cave. I think that's extremely important, especially when you're moving forward in a franchise, to take a little bit of time to really establish your characters. And, this movie doesn't have a lot of action in it, but it's kind of like a comic book. A lot of comics don't have a lot of action. They have a lot of, interpersonal relationships, character development. And then when the action does come, though, it's really fun and vivid, and that's what you have here. Unfortunately, like most of the Marvel movies, the visual effects here are pretty jank. They're not at all effective, but there are some cool parts to it. The Iron Man suit looks fantastic in this one. I love Robert Downey Jr. I think he's a lot of fun to watch here. The rest of the cast is great. Terrence Howard, who unfortunately would not return to the role, which is a shame because I thought he really did a great job. You have Gwyneth Paltrow. I hate the guy from S.H.I.E.L.D., but, you can't like everybody. I just think this is a really well-paced movie. The humor works because it's not forced like it is later on. It's not one dad joke after another. They give time for emotional beats to work. It's just a really solid movie. I wouldn't say it's one of the best superhero movies ever, but I do think it's a really good superhero movie, and I certainly would put it toward the top of the list of my favorite of the Marvel movies, just because it seems like it just does everything right. It's also a really good example of how good these movies could be if they're not slaves to this stupid tie-in stuff where you have to shoehorn in, elements to other movies. I think if you just establish the characters in their own movie and then bring them together, it'll make sense. I don't think you need to, shoehorn in, other elements from from other kind of character lines to make it work. I think people can understand that these characters exist within the same world without sabotaging the individual movie narratives, to do that. So I know I'm getting into a tangent, but I love these characters, and like I said, I'm not a big fan of the movies. I feel like they're just kind of generic movies, but I really do like Iron Man. I think it's the first one. This is the one that launched the entire franchise. Iron Man was not a real popular character at the time, and now he's pretty much one of the most, if not the most popular character. So I really like this movie. I think it's solid. I'm sure a lot of people will be surprised to hear me praising a Marvel movie, but I think it's really well made. And for me anyway, I was kind of skeptical about it after, the X-Men movies of how good, a Marvel superhero movie could be. This gave me a lot of faith for where the direction of the series was going to go. Unfortunately, it kind of got off course after this, but I definitely highly recommend Iron Man, and I'm sure 99% of you have seen this, but I just thought, for my own personal needs, I would go ahead and review some of these here on the channel, even though I'm sure you guys have mostly already seen them and read thousands of reviews about them. So that's my review of Iron Man. If you want to read up a full write-up, you can at markfusion.com. I've got reviews of pretty much all the Marvel movies there, as well as tons of other superhero movies, including weirdo, oddball ones, which are some of my favorites. You can also follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch at markfusion. If you want to see what's coming up on the channel, you can go to Letterboxd and follow me there. I diary what I'm watching. You can see what's coming up. The best way to support me is just to hit that sub button. Like I always say, it's free, easy, direct way to support me. And help me to keep growing this channel. Even if you disagree with me and you love the Marvel movies, I still appreciate you coming by and watching my videos. But also watching those older videos is a huge way to help me out as well. There are hundreds upon hundreds of them in the playlist here. And also, if you want to go the extra mile, when you do visit my website, you can use my Amazon links, and I'll put that money directly into getting more movies to make more videos. So thank you so much for watching this one. I do appreciate it. Hopefully I'll see you guys soon.